What is up, all you beautiful people? It is I, AkemiTCG, back here with a brand new video. Hand traps are a critical, and when I say critical, I mean very important part of Yu-Gi-Oh! If you're going into Yu-Gi-Oh! And you have no idea what hand traps you're going to encounter, you're going to have a really bad time. And if you're playing a deck, you should probably consider playing some sort of hand trap, unless you're playing a pure combo strategy where you need all your combo pieces, or you're playing an FTK strategy. You're probably going to need some of these hand traps. So today, in the month of April leading into May, I'm going to give you guys my subjective opinion on the best hand traps in the format at the moment. This is going to be a whole crazy shebang tier list, alright? So buckle up your seatbelts, let's get right into it. So we're going to go right in order. S is going to be, this is the hand trap you want to have. You probably want to main at least 1, 2, or 3 of these, or at least at the bare minimum siding. And then A, B, C, and D, I'll explain each one. And there's timestamps in the timeline down below. Anyways, the first card is going to be Effect Failure. Effect Failure is relatively good this format. It's not amazing. The only big issue is that it does target. And essentially, if you look at it from a holistic standpoint, Effect Failure is just a worse infinite impermanence. Plus, your opponent can play 3 tactical talents right afterwards too, which really does suck for you. And I feel like we're not in that specific kind of format where you're going to play Valor over something like, let's say, like Gamma or Imperm. So I put it at B tier. Imperm has been reprinted numerous times, so it's a lot easier to get your hands on now. But if you're super budget, then Valor is the go-to option for you. Next is going to be Nibiru. Right now, some of the strongest decks are Dragon Link, and to be quite frank, Dinos are pretty damn good. But however, they are playing around Nibiru. Dinos apparently, well, not apparently, but they have Miscellaneousaurus, which just messes a lot of people up. And Dragon Link, if you're playing the Dragunity Dragon Link version, you are summoning Crystal Wing before 5, so they just play around Nibiru that way. So that's why I put it at B tier. It's usable, but it's not the best, so to speak. Next is Ash Blossom. Ash Blossom, in my opinion, I don't think there's a format where I think Ash Blossom is going to be terrible besides Eternal format, which is like almost 2 years ago at this point or more. So it's going to be S tier. A lot of decks are going to be searching. You're playing against Rogue, you're playing against Meta. They're going to be searching. They're going to be special summoning from the deck. They're going to be sending stuff from the deck to the graveyard. This is 9 times out of 10 what Rogue deck strategies are about. And if you're playing against Meta, if you Ash Blossom at the right time, you just win, okay? You Ash Blossom at the perfect moment, at that perfect choke point, and then you come back next turn, guns blazing, and you're just wrecking everything, you're probably going to win. So that's why Ash Blossom, in my opinion, is going to be S tier. Ghost Reaper, Winter Cherries, I see some application for it, but there's nothing crazy like VFD right now. There's not an oppressive extra deck monster where it's like, if they summon this monster, you pretty much lose the game. So I don't think it's good right now at all. I'm going to put it at D tier. Dark Honest, we don't have this yet. It's coming out in Lightning Overdrive. But to be honest, battle traps are just way too slow right now. Or battle hand traps. I can see it, I guess, being used in Grand Maju, but I would argue that there's more application right now for Dark Honest than Ghost Reaper and Winter Cherry. So that's why I'm going to put it at the C tier. If you are enjoying this video so far, make sure to drop a like, comment, and subscribe. I would heavily appreciate it. And let me know down below what your favorite hand trap this format is. Let's get back to it. Next, we're going to have DD Crow. So DD Crow is an extremely good card. No matter what deck you face, especially most decks nowadays, they do play Monster Reborn or some sort of recursion from the graveyard. You can DD Crow it. And DD Crow is extremely good, especially if a card says target 1 monster in the graveyard, or target 1 card in the graveyard, or if they have a graveyard effect they have to manually activate, you can DD Crow that preemptively. Really good example is if they drop Miscellaneousaurus, you can just DD Crow that preemptively before they banish it, then use the second effect. So that's why I put DD Crow at A tier. I think it's just really good right now. It's a little bit slept on, but you know, it'd be like that sometimes. Psy-Framegear Delta. So a lot of people don't know about Delta. What Delta does is if you control no monsters and your opponent activates a spell card during either player's turn, you can special summon Delta and Driver. The Driver can be from your, I believe, your deck, your graveyard, or your hand. And you negate the activation and destroy it. So it has more application than Winter Cherries, but I'm trying to think of if there's like a specific spell card. Oh, probably Nadir Servant might be the number one offender, but I can't think of any other like situation where you would use Delta. I feel like with Gamma, at least you can Gamma on your turn, but with Delta, the only things you can Delta on your turn are quick play spells that aren't super polymerization, so it has less application than Gamma. But I can see at some point, or in some builds, just people just using Delta, so I'm gonna put that on C tier. Infinite Impermanence. Okay, in the last format, it wasn't that good. It's pretty rough. Oh, I forgot to put Phantasmay on here. Oh, we'll talk about Phantasmay. Infinite Impermanence is good right now. In the last format, we played against Virtual World. We played against pretty much... what is the other deck called? Oh, Drytons. I completely forgot about Drytons. So we played against Virtual World and Dryton, and everything virtually activated from the hand or in the graveyard. So Infinite Impermanence didn't have that much application, but now with Dragon Link being king, now more people are playing 3 tactical talents. It's just good. Impermanence is really good. You play around the 3 tacticals. If you think they have 3 tacticals and you have an Impermanent Ash, you're like, well, let's just use Imperm so we don't get 3 tactical. That is an option, and still by far Imperm, I think in this format, is the best generic hand trap. I'm not gonna say it's the best hand trap in the format, but the best generic hand trap where like you don't need any, or you don't have any restrictions to using the card, and it's just good going first or second. Drawing Lockbird, Invoke Dogmatica is pretty damn good right now, so I'm gonna put it at A tier. A lot of rogue decks, especially if I'm looking at stuff like heroes and stuff like that, they search a lot, so you just want to take advantage of that. Just draw them to death and then just get the easy dub. Battle Fader, just slow, so D tier just ends the battle phase. Psy-Framegear Gamma. So Gamma obviously has a lot more application than Effect Filler and Delta, just for the fact that it does destroy the monster as well. And on the big bright side is you can synchro the 2 cards. If you play it on your turn, you can synchro the Gamma and the Driver into Omega and then rip a card out of your opponent's hand, which is super free as well. So that's why I put this card at A tier. The only stipulations is you have to control no monsters, but you know, if you're planning to go in second build, even if you're going first build and you have a plethora of cards that be like, oh, I want to search this card. For example, a good example, Fire Formation Tenki, Dragon Ravine, Reinforcement of the Army, Nadir Servant. Even though you don't get to go into Omega after using Nadir, there is an option. Pot of Prosperity, Pot of Extravagance. There's a lot of things you have to consider with applications for using Gamma. So it just really depends on your build. But as of right now, I think Gamma is extremely strong, especially if you hit a meta deck at their choke points. Okay. So Ghost Spell, I think it's just not as strong as DD Crow right now. You can argue that they both go in the same tier, but the fact that DD Crow you can just abuse it multiple times in one turn is fantastic. Ghost Ogre, it's not too good right now. It just, people just kinda use it. I just can't think of a deck that'd be like, oh, I lose to Ghost Ogre. Because you put it on the LP, they still get the LP effect. You put it on the Romulus, they still get the search. So I just put it at C tier, which is not that good right now, in my opinion. Gnomaterial, I personally just haven't seen people use it, and I can't justify playing Gnomaterial over literally any of these 5 cards, or even any of these 8 cards. So it's just too niche to be effective, in my opinion, and that's why it's going to go to D tier. Gorz, D tier, way too slow. You have to control no cards to get the effect off, so that's rough too. Dark Honest, the same idea with Dishonest or Dark Honest, or regular Honest. People use it in OTK strategies, but there's really no true application. Let me just move this around to just make it look better. There's no real application towards using that particular card. It's just like, yeah, it's good when it goes off, but it's like it doesn't really change the game state. You can definitely cheese your opponent, win out some games with Onyx, but it's just okay. That's it. That's really it. It's just okay. Artifact Lancea, in my opinion, is still going to be S tier right now, just because it does hit specific builds of guard dragons. If you, especially if you're playing the chaos version, it does hit dinos, which are really strong right now. So if it hits those two particular decks, and also by the way, you can drop Lancea on somebody's invocation, and then the invocation most of the time will just fizzle. So it's good. Lancea is really good. I personally still main 3 in a lot of my competitive decks, just because I really like how that card works. So take that into consideration. Next is Miradora. Miradora, it's just too niche for me to justify putting it at anything above a C tier. It's like, the card sounds good in theory, but there's way too many niche restrictions on it that I'd rather just deal with any of these cards. Then I have Red Blossoms of the Underfoot. I don't think I've seen anybody use this card, so it's gonna go on that D tier. Dimension Shifter, in my opinion, in my personal opinion, this is the best hand trap in the whole entire game as of right now. If you can use Dimension Shifter, abuse it, take advantage of it, and get some dubs with it. This card shuts down almost every single meta deck and almost every single rogue deck single-handedly. What do a lot of decks do against Dimension Shifter? Nothing. Adamantipator's, nothing. Prank Kids, nothing. Dragon Link, nothing. Infernoble, nothing. So you can resolve it, good on you, but like, it's just, you just can't splash it in every deck, which does suck, because some decks, because Dimension Shifter, if you don't know this, it locks you out too. So it's until the end of the next turn that it stays resolved. So you can, the best case scenario is if you're going first, you can just preemptively drop Dimension Shifter, so your opponent's locked out next turn, but then once it's your turn again, you can play again. But you just shotgun D-Shifter, it's really good. Skull Meister, same idea with the Ghost Spell, I just don't see as much application compared to DD Crow. And then Ghost Sister, Spooky Dogwood. I haven't seen anybody use this card ever, but I get the idea behind it. I get the idea of time behind it, so I'll put that on C tier. And last but not least, I want to talk about Fantastical Dragon Phantasmay. Okay, so Phantasmay, in my opinion, is going to go to the A tier. You can just imagine it being there. I'm going to put it after this in post. Imagine it being there. And the reason being is every single deck Link summons is just a good way to fix your hand. And if you happen to run against that random Sky Striker player, you just get an easy W. That's it. Anyways, hope y'all enjoyed the hand trap tier list. Again, these are my opinions. I am AkemiTCG. I'll see you guys next time. Peace.
The world ends now.